Video games are known for letting you experience something you wouldn't normally in your day-to-day basis, like using Earth Shatter as Reinhardt in Overwatch. It's just a very powerful ability that knocks people on the ground no matter the situation. They are left defenseless and you can do whatever you want with them. Or the Diva Bomb, that you launch your stupid robot mech to the sky and it explodes like a nuke, wiping the entire enemy team. But both of these moments can be ruined by a pathetic singular ability that is commonly known as crowd control. So for example, a Sombra hack maybe, or a Orisa spear, or Sigma just throwing a rock at you. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Disgusting Discussions. Today, as I said, I wanted to talk about some crowd control abilities, and it's because I have been swapping from game to game for quite a long time now, maybe a month or a few weeks. And the games I'm talking about more specifically are Overwatch and Team Fortress 2. Yes, these two are once again fighting a head-to-head battle for some stupid reason, and we all know Team Fortress 2 is better, but Overwatch has bigger clout and more vibrant and oversaturated colors. That's why more people play it. So as I said, I wanted to talk about crowd control, and as you can see, the Disgusting Discussions series is still on this channel running and living its life, because I am too lazy to make an actual video because I need to go soon and I am in a very big hurry and I will not be able to make any more quality videos for a while, so enjoy this while you can. So crowd control. What even is crowd control? Crowd control is something that limits your movement or limits your possibilities of, playing the game. Like I mentioned, the Sigma Rock, when you get hit in the face, you are unable to move for a second, you are unable to shoot, you are unable to play the game, you're unable to breathe even maybe. But basically it stops anything you're doing no matter the situation. Maybe some shields, maybe some bubbles might protect you, but it's like, how often does that happen? Like you're going to block maybe once or twice some crowd control ability that is coming your way. You're gonna be happy, haha, I blocked it, but then another one comes from, I don't know, other side of the map. So crowd control abilities are not necessary in the game, and this is my statement that I'm trying to prove in today's episode, that they are not necessary in the game. You can have a brilliant, fantastic game without any of them. And the game that I wanted to actually, bring as an example is Diabotical, which, if you know this game, then congratulations from me, because it's an old game. I mean, not as old as TF2, for example, but it's an old game that even the god of TF2 himself, Bani, played, so fun fact for you. And it's basically an arena shooter that you play as a round spherical robot just jumping around and shooting other spherical robots. The premise of the game is very simple, and that's why it's so lovely and that's why it's so pleasant to play, because there's nothing to worry about other than just shooting other people. And now imagine if that game had some form of stopping the player's movement by landing some, I don't know, homing projectile. Like, that wouldn't be fun. The game is all about movement, the game is all about dynamic gameplay and shooting other players, and by adding abilities like that, you ruin the entire experience and change how the game is played, because additionally, crowd control abilities are used to misplace you as well. So going back from Diabotical to Overwatch now, crowd control abilities are necessary in this game because of how the game works and how the maps are designed as well. If you look at Ilios Well in Overwatch, there is this very obvious very obvious thing why crowd control abilities are important in those matches. Without any crowd control ability, this hole or this edge on the map wouldn't be useful at all. Like, it would only serve a purpose as a nice view or something that new players will slip on and fall and go into a random Twitch compilation or whatever. But thanks to those crowd control abilities, you can create some more dynamic and more rare moments, like getting the environmental kills that are famous for how goofy and how silly they are just when you pull them off. For example, knocking the enemy Roadhog into the pit when you play as the Brazilian man that drives walls and just shoots at people with sound. That's hilarious. That's how you have a good game, and these crowd control abilities allow something like that to happen. And now going back to Team Fortress 2, this game is not as holy as it seems. It might look on the surface level that it's so good that it doesn't need crowd control abilities. And when you look at the game from the, bird's eye view, you might think, wait, there's nothing that could crowd control you or something that will limit your movement. But unfortunately, one class specifically has one mechanic that is hated all over the place. There's no player that wouldn't like this mechanic, and I'm talking about Air Blast. Air Blast is known for blowing back the enemy projectiles like rockets or grenades, but at the same time it can knock back enemy players. And why is it so important is that Team Fortress 2 isn't that much based on environmental kills or that much on crowd control. So knocking the enemy players back by just pressing one button and being in a medium to close range to them feels very annoying, especially when you play some squishy classes like Spy or Scout that could be easily manipulated with a simple press of a button, and the air blast statistic that makes you unable to strafe, so you lose air control when you get air blast. That makes you an easy target to just blow off the edge when you happen to stand near it. So it's also really hard to counterplay it, and especially it feels so wrong because it gives a very cheap option for a player to do something very powerful. It's something close to an ultimate ability in Overwatch, but it's under one button and it only consumes like 5% of your ammo or something, or 10% of your ammo. Yeah, 10% I think. I'm just going to quickly sip on my coffee that my beautiful fiance made for me. Hell yeah. And yeah, it's really early in the morning when I'm recording this, so forgive me if I'm not excited and, happy as I'm usually in my videos. But going back to the topic, the crowd control abilities are existing in the holy grail of TF2, unfortunately, but people are speaking loudly and they are speaking, they are speaking very clearly that they do not enjoy this mechanic. But what Team Fortress 2 does, and what Overwatch 2 in my opinion has failed to do, is try to very clearly limit how many of those crowd control abilities are, because other than the air blast, I cannot think of a single mechanic in that game that is as annoying as the air blast. For example, we have Natasha, that is notorious for slowing down enemy players. But you can still shoot, you can still move, you can still jump, you can still exist, you can still play the game whilst getting shot by this minigun. And there's also the Sandman that is famous for its guillotine and baseball combo that was removed because it was overpowered. It was annoying to play. No one liked to be stunned by a ball, by a very fast moving player, and sometimes the ball was undodgeable because it was shot at close range and it was like a 50-50, the scout hit it or not. And if you want to get a coin flip to not play the game or play the game, then that's not a fun mechanic. Of course it's gonna be changed. So now it only slows people, and many people don't use it because it feels too weak. But it's still a crowd control ability, but not as strong as the Overwatch ones that you just ruin the game. For example, Orisa Spear. It achieves the same thing as Air Blast by knocking people back, but it also stuns, making you unable to act, which is double down worse. So, comparing Overwatch to Team Fortress 2 once again, if I had to choose between Air Blast and the crowd control abilities, some crowd control abilities of Overwatch like Rocks, Spears, Reinhardt charges, or even ultimates that just stun you in place, then I would much rather only have to deal with one simple pyro that only has this one button from time to time, or because I have many options to counterplay now. You can play heavy, you can just gun him down, you can play sniper and just don't let him get close to you, you can play scout and maneuver with the distance. There's much counterplay to that, but Overwatch abilities do not have that counterplay that is so required to actually enjoy the game to its fullest potential. So, as a conclusion to this video, I honestly feel that games do not need crowd control abilities, but Overwatch 2 is a special case where it's built around the requirement of those abilities, thanks to its map design, thanks to its ultimate charge meter mechanic, where all heroes have to be capable of, killing other heroes. And of course, when you have a role system implemented, of course, the weaker classes, weaker heroes, like Lucio or Zenyatta or Ana, that are just one-to-one compared to damage hero, have lower damage output, so they have to have something to defend themselves. They need to have something that will be on the same level as raw damage that DPS heroes have, or tanks heroes, like Junker Queen. You have to have something to stop that force, because no player likes to feel defenseless in that game. So I think the problem lies in the role selection, so this entire role thing forces people to use crowd control or implement crowd control. And if you don't believe me, then I'm going to roll in with another example, that is League of Legends, which also has a role selection system, with the infamous support role also being notorious for its crowd control abilities. Think Blitzcrank, Thresh, Pike, whatever, everything that makes you misplaced or stun locked in a single place. All of those are still in the game because a player with a role in mind needs to have something to compensate for the lack of damage that they are having. So yeah, that's today's video. If you're new to the series, then I highly encourage you to comment down below what do you think about those crowd control mechanics and crowd control abilities, crowd control in Overwatch, crowd control in crowd control. And yeah, thank you so much for listening, thank you so much for watching, and yeah, see you in the next one. Have a lovely day. Bye bye.